I know for me, some of them I've actually only seen once.
Yeah, that's why I need to rewatch them.
I don't know if I want to see them again.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast, with your hosts, Connor O'Neill and Matthew Hughes.
What is up, fellow Misfits?
Hello?
And Matt.
Hello. Hi, Connor.
Fellow Misfits and Matt. Here we are on another Wednesday, bringing you an episode of the Nerdy Misfit Podcast.
With another tier list. Surprise, surprise.
Well, this one is on a topic we actually haven't covered in a while, and it is a nerdy topic. It's not food related, which is nice.
True.
But first, some housekeeping. First of all, we just want to say big congratulations to ourselves, but also to you guys for helping us reach 500 subs on YouTube. Means a lot. If you're new here, we kind of just talk about whatever. There's a lot of anime content, I would say. At least 50% probably. Maybe more. But we do talk about other things as well, and this is going to be one of those cases where we'll be talking about...
Not anime.
I was going to say something we truly care about, but I don't know if I really care that much anymore.
You don't care anymore.
Matt truly cares about, and that's Star Wars. Other than that, yeah, next week, tune in as we have a sad but happy but sad. I don't know. We'll see how we end up talking about it, but
Yes.
a big episode in terms of a big series that ended for manga, and then after that, we may have a special episode with a certain guest who hasn't been on in a while, and definitely has not been on since we switched to some video format. So,
So stay tuned.
stay tuned. Definitely for the next few. I would say honestly
next
this
couple
month.
episodes.
I'd say this month. I'm pretty excited for overall all the episodes that are coming out.
Yeah.
So we're starting easy here, so we can really work our way
Bail
in.
out for the month here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is an episode that I've been wanting to do for a little bit. We just never got around to it, and we're like, you know what? Let's just get this episode out of the way and see how many haters we can get.
Yeah. This one's also easier. We want to do potentially. We have done Avengers ones for audio listeners only.
Oh,
But
yeah, for Marvel movies.
But we want to revisit the MCU, do a video format, make it a little bit easier for everyone to see. And me and Matt want to put in the extra effort of actually watching, going. Basically, we'll probably go by phase, I would assume.
Yeah, I think that's the healthiest and easiest way to digest it.
And then that way they're fresh. When we rate them, we know it's just there.
Like the Marvel movies, we'll probably be doing. Sorry, with the MCU, we'll be doing just the movies like we'll be doing today.
Yes.
Where we won't be including any of the shows, animated or live action.
Adding the shows is just too much at this point, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Movies is easier. I guess we'll get into it when we get to certain films. I was going to say how recent how some of them have maybe been for you, but I know for me, some of them I've actually only seen once.
Yeah, that's why I need to rewatch them.
I don't know if I want to see them again.
It's one of those things of like, will they be better than I remember? Probably not. But like, I don't know. We'll see.
But yeah, without further ado, we'll hop into our Star Wars tier list. Our audio-only listeners, we will go through the list.
At the very end.
Currently, the list is S, A, B, C, D. It's fine, I guess. I was going to say, I don't know if we'll fill out every letter. If we don't, we don't.
Like
we'll fix it.
At least one film in every
I
letter.
feel like there should be an F for a certain movie here.
I'm very curious there's. We'll get into that.
So I think we have this in proper, not release order, but timeline order.
Timeline order, yes. So prequel trilogy, and then we got the two in betweens. We got the original trilogy, and then the sequel trilogy.
Now, I guess I want to ask you before we get into it, how would you recommend someone new to Star Wars
Depends how old they
watch the series, like the whole movies?
Depends how old they are.
Would you recommend they watch shows? Would you recommend the movies?
Like, in general,
Yeah.
I would automatically say start with the movies.
Start with the movies?
Yeah, because the thing is that the TV shows is an extended part of the movies in reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're still in that, minus the acolyte, but whatever, is part of that Skywalker saga, right? So they're filling in the blanks. Even with the animated stuff, I'd still recommend starting with the movies. Now, what movies to start with, I think depends on how old they are.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is because if you go to people like our parents, for example, maybe they've seen all of them, and they're going to tell you that the original trilogy is the best trilogy.
The best.
Now, people around our age, we're going to be like, that prequel trilogy
Was the best.
was the best. And now you have this younger generation being like, well, the sequel trilogy is the best. Like, it was this, this, and this. So it really depends on what generation of Star Wars you're from, and that is depicted of which trilogy you like the most. Because I've never met an older person being like, oh, yeah, the sequel trilogy was the best.
I think the original trilogy should be watched first.
Okay.
I think that if someone, for some reason, knows nothing about Star Wars, which honestly seems pretty crazy to even think about that, it's like not knowing anything about Harry Potter. You can maybe not see Harry Potter or read it, but you know it. You know
who the
things.
Dark Lord
Yeah,
is.
you know
Like,
who
it's plain
Voldemort
and
is.
simple,
You know that you
easy
don't speak his
peasy.
name. Like, you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
certain things, right? Just like you know who Darth Vader is, but you don't know until you're watched the films,
Yeah.
right? So for me, I think watching 4, 5, 6 is a better order to start with, mostly because watching from 1, 2, 3, and even throwing in like the animated series if you want to, you know what's coming now.
Yeah.
You ruin the surprise. And it's a crazy head turner for sure. And then you can almost make the argument that it's more impactful as you watch 1, 2,
Yeah.
you see the struggles Anakin's going through, and you're like, this sweet boy, how? And you
Yeah.
just grow. And I don't think anything makes you more connected to Anakin than the Clone Wars. Like, oh, so good. Like, the series just makes you fall in love with the characters even more, to such a degree that even if you're not a big animated person, cartoon, whatever, like the stories are so good, the characters get fleshed out so well.
Yep.
And it almost makes you feel like you want an animated series or something to fill in the blanks in between each of all the movies. Realistically,
Yeah.
like it would be so nice to just have some. Not that everything needs to be explained, but we do live in the world now where everyone wants everything to be explained.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. But there's also movies on this list that does exactly that.
Yeah.
It isn't good.
That's true.
So it's a fine line where you're like, how much content is too much content for this universe, and like, you know, how to it. And this works for every fandom. How do you please everyone? And
Yeah,
you can't,
valid.
right?
No,
like
you
some
can't.
people are gonna say that one of these movies that we're probably not gonna put high is their favorite movie, and that's just how it is, you know.
Painful.
At the end of this episode, before we wrap up, I do want to go through the different ways people watch the Star Wars movies, like the machete order, chronological.
Yeah,
order,
different
ways.
The different
But
orders.
We'll get into that at the end. But
Without further ado.
haha.
All right. We'll start with the Phantom Menace. Oh, this is actually tough.
Well, yeah, because we're starting off with our.
Now,
This
obviously,
I want to put it
epic
somewhere.
lightsaber battles. Epic lightsaber battles, right?
Epic lightsaber.
Pod racing.
Pod racing. I love it. Okay. This
Darth Maul,
Darth Maul looks great. Qui-Gon Jinn,
Qui-Gon Jinn,
great.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, the younger years. As much as Jar Jar Binks is hated on, like the Gungans are still memorable in a weird way. The thing about this movie that people don't like is the cringiness of it. Whatever,
Some of the
right?
CGI hasn't aged well.
Hasn't aged well,
But for the time, it's
it was
pretty great.
It was pretty good.
Pushing the edge.
Exactly. And the reason why I'm going to put, in my personal opinion, this movie's going to go above other ones is because this movie, in my opinion, is quotable. It's
Yeah.
enjoyable.
It's enjoyable.
You know? Like, you
Maybe
have-
has some. I mean, to be fair, all of Star Wars has an epic score, but
man, like, this is a great score, great characters introducing to the universe of the prequels, bringing a next generation of, like, oh, here's a little kid named Anakin. By the way, here's the origin of C-3PO before he became the C-3PO you know. You have Qui-Gon Jinn, like you said, Darth Maul. You get introduced to the Jedi Council. Like, this is the base.
and if you've seen 4, 5, 6, you're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
what it was like.
This is how Yoda used to be and not some crazy old green dude.
Well, and just the Jedi in general, like how powerful they were, and just the choreography. I know people obviously make jokes about Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi's, like even Luke and Darth Vader's isn't
Yeah.
exactly
The strongest.
making you go crazy or bring you to the edge of the seat in a wow, that was a hype fight way. But it was definitely more traditional kind of feeling for two knights kind of sword style fighting, where now we've gone more into the theatrical of movie fighting, which some people don't like, but it looks cool.
It looks cool.
And it got a dual lightsaber.
And we got I don't know.
We do have the questionable start of a relationship that some people
A little weird.
may not like. Yeah, maybe people don't like.
Again, that's still quotable.
Yeah.
Now this is pod racing. It's working. And Watto.
I'm a boy and my name is Anakin.
I wish to train the boy. There's just a lot of good lines.
Metachlorians gets brought up for the first time.
Brought up. You just get the expanded lore of the original trilogy.
Yeah, and the world is just expanded, and you know that it's the first time for. Well, I can't relate because we weren't alive for the original trilogy, but I can only imagine how some.
The original trilogy, sorry.
I can only imagine how some of people were reacting in terms of. I know that a lot of people disliked a lot of things from the prequel, but even just the excitement they maybe felt learning about different things, like metachlorians being like,
yeah,
if they hadn't read the books, because obviously books have been coming out since the original series came out.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're not that deep down into the rabbit hole and you're watching
learning the lore as the characters are.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty interesting.
At the exact rate Anakin is.
So for that,
A.
Ooh. I mean, I was gonna say B, but I'll give you an A. Why not?
Why not?
Spicy. We'll start off
that's
strong.
Right. I knew.
If we need to change it, we'll change it.
We're not gonna change it though.
We might have to change it, but we'll get there.
Now the next one, episode 2.
Attack of the Clones.
Am I gonna say what I want to say?
What do you want to say?
I want to put it in C.
You want to put it in C?
What?
So what do you not like about episode 2?
Here's the thing about this movie is that I have gotten in so many arguments with so many friends with them being like, "Oh, this is better than the Phantom Menace." But my thing is that because they always bring up the same point. Well, the Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff's great. If we were able to take out the Anakin stuff, it'd be a great movie. But
yeah, the Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's fair. It is good.
Stuff is great. I just landed on El Camino.
Yeah, okay. The Anakin, the Anakin dialogue is poor, very poor.
I hate sand.
But it does still have very impactful scenes developing Anakin and Padme's relationship.
Yeah.
And obviously, yes, you might cringe a few times at some of it, and the CGI pair thing flying and. Okay,
well,
yeah.
The big thing about Attack on the Clones where they tried to kill Padme at the beginning?
Yes.
It's where Palpatine sends Dooku, who sends a bounty hunter, who sends a bounty hunter, who sends a droid, who sends a bug to kill Padme.
Well, you don't want to be traced. Keep yourself safe,
But it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's I didn't,
I'm 95% how it goes. Palpatine to Dooku to Jango to that weird bounty hunter to that droid to the bugs.
The droid that uses the bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is
95% sure that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Maybe C is a little rude.
But there's still some good moments, some quotable.
Yeah.
Do you want some death sticks? You don't want to sell me death sticks.
It's just
we see Anakin losing his lightsaber, which becomes a very common trope within the Clone Wars, the animated series. That is.
So where do you want to put this?
I'm just trying to think. What else is super impactful in this series? Probably just the ending.
I mean, the creation of the clone army is important. The Colosseum fight is fun, but there's issues in the Colosseum fight.
Oh, for sure. There's the Colosseum fight is just hype, and it's cool to see all the I love when all the Jedi show up.
Lightsaber,
Yeah, that's true. Samuel L. Jackson popping off. It's Mace Windu.
So I'll put it in. Let's put it in B.
No, I think C is okay.
C is okay.
I think there's some important things story-wise and world-wise that do get brought in through this. The relationship between Padme and Anakin, like I said, and then the ending, obviously, the start of the war, and probably the middle section. You can argue is the fun stuff with Obi-Wan Kenobi and learning about the clones and why/how the clones were even made, and obviously it brings up a lot of questions where you're kind of like, whoa, what's going on? And this is why. Well, I guess I'll move this over just slightly. Oh, for people that aren't watching, I have the Clone Wars, the animated movie, but we'll talk about the series slightly by using this.
Yeah. But we're not going to include it in the same thing.
No, we won't.
That's
And that's why if it was here, it would get an S tier.
Oh, yeah.
Because it fixes so many issues with dialogue and stuff for the Clone Wars, for the Attack of the Clones, I'm sorry, that it makes it a much more tolerable movie because you know it leads into this series.
Exactly.
So I'm okay with it being C. Maybe not the best written, but as a kid, you still loved it. First time you saw Yoda fight?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's still there's still some good moments, but just to me, it's not as good as Phantom Menace. Moving on, we got this. A lot of people don't even know this exists. They did a theatrical version of a movie called Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And this movie, without going into too much detail, is just D. It is the worst Star Wars content that they've put into theaters. And without going into too much detail, it's literally a rescue mission style movie trying to rescue Rota the Hutt, which is Jabba the Hutt's
Yes,
kid.
I've seen this. Yeah.
And it's just, the animation is cringy, because it's not as clean as the show.
Valid.
This also didn't have, I don't believe it had like Ian McGregor or Hayden Christensen in it. No, it's Matt Lanter and James Arnold Taylor, sorry. But you had other people, like Christopher Lee was in it, doing the voices of Count Dooku. You had Samuel Jackson in it as Mace Windu, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. So you had, like, the big ones. Like, Ian came, I believe, and did... No, he just did... Okay, no, it was a different one. My apologies. You still had, like, a lot of the big actors, though, to come in and do the characters.
Yeah, to do the voices.
Great, right? But this is just plain and simple. It's the bottom of the barrel. Worst of the worst for the Star Wars theatrical movies.
But you should definitely watch.
But you should definitely watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the TV show. It's phenomenal.
Amazing.
Moving on to
Okay, so
the best.
yes, best of the prequel.
Oh yeah, hands down.
So I feel like it's safe to put is
Put it right up there. There we go. Star Wars: The Revenge of the Sith.
Just
Goosebumps.
honestly, so many great things. Score once again. I mean, to be fair, that's pretty much most of Star Wars. But you know, we get Duel of Fates coming back, making a reappearance in a another epic battle. But also the costume design I felt was fantastic in this film. Just the level of emotion you feel during it
throughout the entire film, really.
Yeah, for sure. Goosebumps. So many moments. And when you rewatch, if you, I'm sure a lot of people, if you're listening, have, you just notice all the opportunities there were to actually help Anakin, or even Anakin to help himself.
Yeah.
Outside of relying on, you know, his own power or confiding in. To be fair, you could also argue the whole reason he does start not, you know, talking to Obi-Wan or Yoda is because they do turn him away. And so he finds someone else that'll listen.
That just so happens it's Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, who just so happens to be
the bad guy.
The big bad.
This movie's got a lot of memorable lines, of course.
Like memorable lines, memorable fights.
Anakin and Obi-Wan, you have the whole, if I ever told you the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
The Mace Windu fight. I think the one thing that's kind of sad is how quickly certain Jedi Masters were
axed.
Yeah. Kid Fisto, looking at you, supposed to be this.
But technically died a second time. But we're not going to talk
about well, that happens a lot.
That's Attack of the Clones.
But that also you could argue, shows the power of Palpatine. Yeah. But I do find it to be a bit of a letdown, but also shows how powerful Mace Windu is, because he just does not give two Fs. He just kind of owns them, to be honest.
I think, too, like, if you watch the Clone Wars and then watch Revenge of the Sith and the whole Execute Order 66, there's like extra emotion because of the characters you followed through
Oh,
Clone Wars.
absolutely.
So, like, that is a big thing.
It hurts even more, especially if with the newer seasons of Clone Wars that came out, because obviously the show kind of got canceled and then came back for the season that they did. It makes it even worse to know that some of those clones were fighting against it, you know? Which is sad. Very sad. Also, you have the epic lizard following Obi-Wan won the lizard
Talked about General Grievous.
and General Grievous on his weird bike thing. I remember I wanted that Lego set so bad as a kid. Also, lightsabers were hard to come by in Star Wars sets.
Yeah.
And any General Grievous set was a solid one because I got four lightsabers.
Yeah. I think, too, it's really cool by the end of this because there's... I don't know if I talked to you about this theory, but, like, how Darth Vader is a mix of all the last three, like, apprentices that we saw of Emperor Palpatine, where he is a mix of Grievous, Dooku, and Maul.
Would you consider Grievous a...
Well, that's the thing, is that technically he would have been, like... Because he was the mechanical and, like, the tech robot-esque stuff that helped create Vader, technically speaking. Because obviously you had Darth Maul, and then you had Count Dooku, who was... What is his Darth? Darth Tyrannus.
Darth Tyrannus, yeah.
Yeah. And then, obviously, General Grievous, who never became a Darth.
But you also have Ventress then as well.
Yeah, but again, that's one of those things, if you know the extra lore of Clone Wars and stuff, that you know Ventress was an apprentice, technically, of Dooku's, and like, that's not a good thing, because of the
that was a big no-no.
Big no-no, you know? Yeah.
It's just really good.
It's just great.
Emotional. The writing's a lot better in terms of character dialogue. I do find Padme and Anakin's a little bit at the end to be
hit and miss, I would say.
Yeah, but the emotion's there, and the acting was great.
Fun fact: this is the only Star Wars film that my girlfriend has not seen because she doesn't want to actually see the fall of Anakin.
Oh,
so that's something.
Just watch right before Obi-Wan has the high ground.
I hate you.
What? Just right before? Don't try it.
Yeah.
Right before that, just be like, oh well, that's the movie.
I know that's how that ends. Yeah.
And then for some reason became Darth Vader.
Whoops, Padme.
Emo, am I right?
So moving on to.
I guess that's also a negative. The high ground thing was a bit.
But so quotable.
Yeah. Anyways, on to Matt's favorite films. So we got the two films people didn't ask for. Some people like, people don't like, and like a lot of mixed, I would say. So we'll start with Solo. First of all, have you seen the Solo film?
I'm pretty sure I did, but I don't remember half of it, in all honesty. I remember the cringe line of, like, what's your last name or whatever. And he goes, oh, I don't have one. Like, who traveled with
Solo.
Yeah, I'm going to call
yeah,
you Solo.
I also don't remember much. I watched it once, and that was enough.
I think Lando was great.
I don't think it was, like, horrible. It was...
Not memorable.
It was kind of like, it was one of those films where you're just kind of like, oh, that was something I watched. Like, it was something to watch, something to kill time.
I think there was a Darth Maul cameo, which I thought was cool.
But overall, I wouldn't say it was the greatest Star Wars content.
Yeah.
And I remember being excited when they did say, oh, there's going to be a Solo film.
Well, weren't they going to do like a trilogy of movies that took place around this time? I think that was the plan at some point. Because, they always want to do a trilogy of Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, true.
But
I'm going to give it a C.
Yeah. Like a C-.
Rogue One.
Okay, this one...
Now, Matt doesn't like this one. But I will
I know where it belongs on this list, and I'll take my half-biased opinion away, where I think it belongs in B.
All right. I would say I could see arguments for A, to be honest.
I think my biggest beef with this is the fact that this movie summarized basically in the beginning of the credits of New Hope.
Yeah.
Because we know exactly how this movie's going to end. I think it's got, like, the Darth Vader stuff in this film. Beautiful. I love the Darth Vader stuff in this film.
Yeah, it's epic.
Some of the characters to me fall flat. It's really cool to see different versions of the Force because you have the blind guy who's, like, Force sensitive. K2SO, great droid. somehow this inspired the Andor TV show,
Which people like.
which people like.
I think without Andor, this movie does lose a bit of points. But this is Matt's issue with it is we're learning all about these characters, and we're supposed to care about them. But why?
Yeah.
We know what happens to them from the overall overarching story. They're irrelevant.
They are completely irrelevant.
We know the plans are retrieved. We know that happens. We know they die because we've never heard of them.
That's the thing. I think if like even one or two of the characters was mentioned, like in the original trilogy or something like that, or like the sequel trilogy, of like, oh yeah, do you know the story?
It would have made it better or feel smoother.
Yeah.
The other critical issue that I know a lot of people hate on or don't like is that it makes Darth Vader look kind of dumb, or makes Leia, who we're supposed to believe is so, like, you know, she's a very powerful and intelligent character in the story, and she's just gonna blatantly lie to Darth Vader as she's has got these plans, and then just be like, "What do you mean, bro? I was on a diplomatic mission."
No.
Like that part is bad.
That's why it's bad.
Especially since it leads right into the next movie.
Yeah.
And they do either Darth Vader is so gullible and he's like, all right, yeah, you're right. Or Leia is like, what is that? So I don't like that. But I will say the characters, even though you don't really need to care about them, they were good.
Yeah.
They were solid.
Again, some fell flat. Some of them were super interesting. And there's certain characters that I wish got more screen time versus others.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I think the highlights are definitely the scenes where we see Darth Vader, and he just very menacing.
Yeah,
very menacing. Really living up to the super evil villain that everyone knows him to be.
Exactly.
With the newer technology, the newer costume design, if you will, to be able to have a little bit more movement in the suit and stuff. Definitely noticeable, and it looked a lot better that way.
Agreed. Jumping in now to the prequel trilogy. Now, this is hard to judge in the sense because of how many revived versions we've had.
Yes.
So I think for us, we should kind of just take it more of like the story aspect and less of like the updated special effects. Because like, I mean, Return of the Jedi, I think, has like 3 different cutted endings of like Hayden Christensen standing there as the Darth Vader.
Yeah.
You have the unmasked. It's whatever.
George is always adding something.
Exactly. So I can wholeheartedly say A New Hope. I'm like looking at this now, and
I love how you're like, yes, I can. He can say it, and he sounds so confident.
I was so confident, I just lost my train of thought.
There's things I like from it.
Yeah.
Quotable.
I think
iconic.
It's one of those things where I'm like, it's above Rogue One, but to say it's not as good as Phantom Menace seems like a bold statement.
Yeah, but we can put it above Phantom Menace.
Yeah, like it's A.
We don't have, unlike some of our tier lists, we don't have a ton, so we can put this in proper order, even if in the same grade.
Yeah.
I would say A, and it's better than Phantom Menace.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, not much else to say.
This is the movie used to just be called Star Wars.
The movie that began it all.
Exactly.
For sure. For its time, the effects are great.
The use of minis and camera angles and paintings.
Yeah, if you've never watched the behind-the-scenes footage of making these films,
changes your experience of the film, in my opinion.
No, it absolutely makes you just how creative people are.
Yeah.
Like, amazing.
And on a small budget during that time is insane as well. I mean, this became IBM, right? That's the company, right?
What?
The company that like helped, like, is it IBM?
MGM? I don't know. I don't know what we're saying.
ILM, I'm pretty sure, is the Industrial Light and Magic. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
The company that George Lucas founded. Sorry, that's what I was trying to think of the name. I'm like, it's.
But ILM, from effects side, it was definitely way ahead of its time. Some of the sound effects, if you've ever heard the stories of how they got some of the sound effects as well, obviously, like we mentioned, score, great.
Yep.
Story. On first, maybe if you're being more on the pessimistic side. Creepy old man stalking kid and then shows up but doesn't help save his family at all. Like, he just shows up to basically just make sure. But to be fair, that was always Obi-Wan's mission, was to keep Luke safe. It was never really caring about the family. And to be fair, Luke's uncle did start kind of shunning Obi-Wan for just being a Jedi.
Old man.
Which I know a lot of people didn't like the Obi-Wan show.
I enjoyed
but it was rough to see how he was treated, knowing who he is, what he's done for.
I mean, I've read the comics during that time period as well to understand like what the
stuff he went
lore of
through,
what happened and stuff like that, of him watching Luke and like wanting to intervene, and that aunt intervening, and then finally does, and Uncle Owen just being like, "You gotta leave him alone."
Yeah,
all that stuff. The story itself became the backbone for a lot of writing.
Yes,
because it became the cliche historic journey. Someone, Tate, who's a no one, finds a mentor.
Yeah, orphan.
Orphan, goes on a crazy adventure. Exciting incident happens. They meet the bad guy. They almost lose. The main character learns a valuable lesson. They go back. His mentor character dies. They save the day.
He's the chosen one.
It is the most cliche, but it wasn't cliche then.
Yeah, fair enough. It's always easier when you're one of the firsts.
Exactly.
Although, obviously, I'm sure if we go further back and
there's probably something inspired.
Definitely,
exactly.
You know, I mean, a lot of people saying a rip off of Dune.
Yep.
For
certain things, yeah. Moving on. Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back.
You know, okay, so I feel like you're gonna put it in S.
No.
Oh, okay. Good. I was okay. Obviously, if you've ever seen any of our One Piece conversations, you'll know that one of my least favorite arcs also has one of my favorite moments in the story. And I would say this is similar to Star Wars. One of my all-time favorite moments is obviously Luke, I am your father. Epic. Absolutely iconic. But I find the beginning of this so boring.
I find Hoth is okay.
Hoth is like
I'm hiding in like with the Wampa fight and then holding. I can't remember the creature that he ends up, the Tauntaun, whatever.
Yeah, I found it very slow. Then
I mean, Lando getting introduced was interesting,
but you don't. I honestly like. Yes, okay. Lando's betrayal is impactful, but I don't feel he had enough development for me to really care as much.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going off of, like, this is my good friend. He would, like, he's got our back. We're just going off that.
Being put into carbonite, like that's
iconic too. Yeah,
that's iconic. I mean, I love you, I know.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
that's cool. Badass.
Yeah, I mean, we get introduced to the bounty hunters like Boba Fett, which I think.
It's safe to say the second half is much stronger than the first half.
So I think like a B+. Is that harsh?
I think that's pretty harsh. You think it's worse than?
No, that's the thing. I put it in A, in between New Hope and Phantom Menace.
All right.
And Return of the Jedi.
Oh, you're just showing. Okay, we're done. Into Return of the Jedi. Now this starts off epic.
Yep.
Starts off. This is one where I kind of wish we could get a little bit of extra. Now we don't need it because the mystery of like just knowing that Luke went through some hardcore training is cool, and you can. I think obviously there's books, and you can do your own have your own imagination. Yeah. But it is part of me is like, man, wouldn't it be cool to see what Luke was doing?
Yeah, exactly. What did he train for a couple
Because
of years?
Man, he enters into this movie and he's almost a different person.
Yeah,
and
the
it's
growth
like
between movies obviously sucks that we don't get to see it, but man, it changes the entire feel because you're like, this guy, he's freaking ready.
And he's not. If you watched episode 1, 2, and 3 before this, he's not like he's a new Jedi.
Yeah,
literally, like he's not following the same garbage rules that got the Jedi kind of in trouble in terms of almost to the level of extinction. He's like, you know what? If I gotta force choke someone, I'm gonna force choke someone.
I gotta do what I gotta do, man.
we're in a sticky situation here at the Empire. So I'm gonna do whatever it takes to bring balance to the Force,
Exactly.
if you will.
And we got the Ewoks.
And we got the Ewoks. I don't care for the Ewoks as much as some people,
Yeah, they're cute.
but yeah, it was a great movie. We got probably one of the better lightsaber battles in
Of the original trilogy, yeah, I would agree.
with Luke again, with Vader. And yeah, we get the epic unexpected twist of, well, I'd say there's two twists. The fact that Palpatine actually is basically grooming Luke. Like, he's like, oh, I'm gonna get Anakin, who was my prized possession, to then get me his son, because I'm kind of done with him, because well, the original Anakin, that was what I really wanted.
Yeah, and I can sense it in this boy.
Yeah. And it is just, man, that guy is messed up. And obviously we see Darth Vader betraying his master. And this is where the argument comes. Was Anakin the chosen one the whole time, or was it Luke? Because technically, Anakin is the one who yeets this man down a massive space.
But then this
sphere.
opens for interpretation because of the sequel trilogy. This is the age-old question, right? At that moment, it's confusing because in the original trilogy, there was no prophecy.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
There's no prophecy.
It's
It's just a guy that finally comes to the realization that
his boss is crazy.
yeah, exactly. And he's about to, like, either A, kill his son, or put his son through the crap he's gone through.
Exactly.
Because we know that Darth Vader at this point does not like Palpatine or Sidious. Like, he's not a fan.
He's over it.
His suit hurts him, and it's just done on purpose. The suit is awful. It's pretty much only used to amplify Anakin's power with the Force.
Yep.
Because it pisses him off and it's not comfortable.
Exactly.
Which is just effed up, man.
Effed up, man.
It's just effed up, man. I didn't want to drop a bomb there, but he's, And so then he throws him off. He saves his kid, saves the day in a way, if you will. Unfortunately, does pass away, but we just don't. We see Force version of him, and he looks great.
Exactly.
But yeah,
So where
it's
do you
a
wanna
great
put
story.
this?
Is it Hess? Or is it the best of the trilogy? Do you think it's the best of the original trilogy?
People won't agree with this, but I would say it's the best of the trilogy. Arguably, like it's like an A+.
Yeah. Just because we don't have another S, I'm gonna put an S.
Okay. Moving on now to the final trilogy, the sequel trilogy. This is where I feel like you and I are gonna have a similar opinion. I don't know about this one here, but
This
Star
one's
Wars:
tough.
The Force
This
Awakens,
is Disney has entered the building. Obviously, we've already talked about Disney movies, but this is the start of Disney entering the building.
I really enjoy this movie.
I don't even remember what this movie's called.
Force Awakens?
Oh, Force Awakens. B.
I remember going to the theater with you. We
B.
watched this 6 Star
I think
Wars
we went with a
films.
group of like
We had a
5
group
or
of
6
4
people.
or 5 at least. I know that. I think this movie's great for multiple reasons. The biggest reason, it brings everyone back. Like the people that
The
watched
nostalgia
original
bait
TV
is good,
exactly.
but
The
then
score's great.
but in some ways you know it's nostalgia bait.
Oh, 100%. And I was there for it. And I got sold.
You got baited. You're like, it's great.
But when this movie first came out, the reason why I enjoyed it so much is because it opened so many questions up. And that was, who's Rey's parents? Is Finn Source sensitive? Who's this new Snoke guy? Who are the Knights of Ren?
Yeah, it did a few good things. What it did was it brought back a lot of fan favorites.
Yeah.
Hey, they're here. We're not that far into the future, which maybe looking back, maybe they should have been. We got a new epic, cool looking villain.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, they opened a lot of doors. There were a lot of paths, a lot of by the end of the movie, like you said, you're left with tons of questions of, I can't wait for the next one because I really want to know what's going on with this
X, Y,
person.
and Z, yeah.
Who's Snoke? Why did Kylo do
What
this?
happened to Luke? Why are they like? You don't really know why. They're
So
trying to
many
find
questions.
Luke, why is like who is this Rey? Why is she on Jakku of all planets? Like, and now we get to see FN 2187, which is one of my favorite Easter eggs of the sequel trilogy, with him being Stormtrooper FN 2187 2187 was the cell number of Princess Leia on the Death Star. So I'm like, that's just great nostalgia, whatever.
Yeah, like cool Easter eggs.
All the cast was great.
It was a good canvas
Yes.
to start
A
with.
good starting point.
However, not without faults. I think the choreography for fighting was awful.
Okay.
To be fair, yeah, we're not technically following real Jedi who are randomly handling lightsabers. So valid. Okay. Yeah, they wouldn't be great. How about the guy that was trained as a Jedi and is now a Sith?
Yeah.
Why is he horrible?
Why is he
You
not
can make
good?
the argument, yeah, because he's emotional, which was another thing I both liked and disliked about Kylo. I thought him not having great control of his emotions was good.
Yep.
I didn't like the tantrums for this really badass looking character.
Agreed.
I thought it was a bit much. I do like that he was kind of unchained a bit. And especially when you think of the Skywalkers and the power that they have, you're kind of like, okay, maybe he can't really handle how much power he has. He's emotional. We've seen this before with Anakin.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, I can... Understandable.
Yeah.
I did find him to be a bit
whiny.
intolerant.
Yeah. I think Maz Kanata was really cool.
Yes.
I thought that whole thing, like, and her having the lightsaber in, like, the basement, basically, and it was calling out to Rey, I thought was good. I mean, when Han dies, I think is really impactful with him.
Yeah,
being
you
like,
feel it.
Because Kylo's like, I don't know if I have the strength to do what I have to do, and you see, he's like, you got to do it. You know, and there's theories behind that if Kylo Ren even actually hit the button on the lightsaber, not or if Han did it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, there's theories behind that. But I think going back to my original point is this is a good way to bring new fans and old fans back. Like you said, it's a good starting point. It's a good canvas.
Yeah, I think it's not unreal, but it's like, okay, what can we do with this?
Yeah, and I remember, like you said, coming out of this, I was hyped.
Yeah,
like,
no, they
it's
succeeded.
Star Wars
in
is back, baby.
It
Like,
made a
this
ton
is
of
great.
money really fast because,
J.J.
shocker, everyone
Abrams
was excited
coming
for it.
back. Boom. Sorry,
Now-
not coming back. Sorry, but like,
Yeah, starting us off.
yeah,
And leads us into the issue, which is, I feel, writing-wise, they should have had a clearer picture for the trilogy
I
overall
100%
before.
agree.
If they did not have a clear picture for the trilogy going into this, then they shouldn't have done this film yet.
I agree.
Now, we do know, we have the knowledge now that George Lucas had a whole other trilogy that could have been used.
Disney was like, no thanks.
That basically got thrown out, which is beyond stupid. You basically paid for it. You should have used it, which is just mind-boggling. Just, I'm not saying George Lucas is the greatest writer of all time. The man has
but
created...
he had a base of stuff.
He's created a really cool world, and it's safe to say his movies did all right.
Yeah.
The Star Wars movies, the 6 that he did, they did all right.
Agreed.
So maybe just do what he wanted. You
Yeah,
paid
the blueprints.
You paid for it.
Exactly. Just use it.
But then we go into
I'm just gonna call
the
it
Dark
the
Age.
disappointment
The Dark Age.
of the sequel.
Obviously, you can imagine everyone's very excited for this film because, like we said, good canvas. And this one, for me, honestly, it's almost worth making an F tier.
Yeah.
This one is just...
I would put it above the Clone Wars movie because there are some, like, the throne room fight with Kylo and Rey, like, fighting off the guards. I think the choreography is really good.
It's okay.
Of that movie, I think it's,
It's one of the
But-
better of this trilogy, which
Yeah.
is sad.
But again, this movie, like, you have all these questions for Force Awakens. Who is Snoke? Who is Rey's parents? Finn, he's trying to escape the Empire. He's a really cool character. Poe, like this new pilot, kind of gives me Han Solo vibes. Then we come to this movie. And
How can we X all of them?
Yeah, Poe's now a dick. Finn's a crybaby. Snoke, he's dead. He's completely irrelevant.
He's a no
Knights of Rent, who are they? Oh, also Rey's parents? Nobody. Finn, also not Force sensitive. By the way, here's a brand new character that could have just been Poe.
That you need to care for because
Because we're going to kill her by the end of it. And you need
we're
to
putting
care about her.
we put her there, and you need to really like her. So we're gonna have her everywhere.
Exactly. And by the way, your main character from the original trilogy, like Luke Skywalker that everyone loved, he's just a dick
Oh yeah,
now.
Luke Skywalker. He is
He's nobody.
And like Mark Hamill said multiple times, he's like, that's not my Luke
Exactly.
Skywalker. He's like, he acted. It was obviously Mark Hamill,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, you know what? The way he approached it was this isn't my Luke Skywalker. This is a different Luke Skywalker, and he just played the role that was asked of him.
Exactly. Now, couple positives. I did enjoy the fact that they brought the puppet back for Yoda. I thought that was a good homage to the original trilogy. That's a lot of people don't like that. I didn't mind it, and I thought the really like Arctic fox-esque creature
Yeah,
that were on the snow planet. I thought those kind of looked cool. The porgs were cute.
that's what you're saying.
But
We had cute and cool things.
Pretty much, yeah. That's
it. And a one okay fight.
I'm trying to say at least something positive about it.
Yeah, and it leads you into going what's next for the next movie? Why
Exactly.
should you watch
Why
the next
should you-
movie?
Yeah. And the fact that this movie got so much hate, backlash, etc., they brought the director back from Force Awakens, which honestly they should have just had J.J. Abrams do all three.
That's what we were trying to say.
Yeah.
There should have been a more concrete plan. That way you could argue that the same director did not have to be there if you had a proper plan overall that needed to be followed. Is this also the film where we get the like insane Leia Force
Mary Poppins moment?
Yeah. And then where I can't remember her name, but the ship crashes and she goes down with the ship and we're supposed to care like when they could have had Akbar do it and a character we all know and care about. Okay. Well.
All right. Well, to be fair, I mean the theory behind this this trilogy, the only clear-cut idea they had was that each movie was to represent one of the main 3 stars from the prequel trilogy. So, Force Awakens was the Han Solo movie. Last Jedi was supposed to be the Leia movie. Or sorry, no, it was supposed to be the Luke movie, and then the final one, Rise of Skywalker, is supposed to be the Leia movie.
But unfortunately,
Carrie Fisher passed away. So
rest in peace.
Made a small hiccup in that overall plan. But moving on to the Rise of Skywalker.
I really just want to put it in D, but just above.
That's what I mean. It's C for me. Like, it's better than Solo.
Is it?
To me, yeah.
I feel like it's got so many horrifying and horrible plot. Like, the map thing for the ship.
I mean, the fact that you had to put in the opening credits. By the way, Chief Palpatine is alive and all this thing. Like, you have to.
Yeah, there was a lot of, like, fixing or trying to be like, oh, this is going on. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it is better than Solo. Horrible choreography again. That final fight with Palpatine is a bit awful. The whole, oh, you're a Palpatine. Okay, now we're supposed to care that she is someone again.
Yeah, which she's like, oh, your father, by the way, is actually a failed clone of Palpatine, and so that's the thing. Also, Snoke is also Palpatine, and yeah.
And we've got this massive fleet of Star Destroyers, or what were they called? Were they Star Destroyers?
They were basically star vessels or something like that.
They had a
they
different
were trying
name.
to make like another Death Star. Basically.
Yeah, they had a different name, but they were all capable of killing a planet. We forgot to mention that that the first of the trilogy was literally just A New Hope.
Yeah,
we did forget to mention that it was kind of
a rehash.
Yeah,
in a way.
like copy pasta.
Yeah.
Instead of a created big station, it was actually a planet.
Yeah. Positives of this movie. Poe Dameron had better story. He
he returns and is his character.
Finn's a bit better. This movie has one of my favorite Easter eggs in movie history. That's just me.
Movie history.
Yeah.
History.
Yeah, of all the Easter eggs I've seen between Marvel movies, like outside of Stan Lee, that's just obviously it's Stan Lee. But this one is an Easter egg that like not a lot of people know unless you've like watched behind the scenes and you know what you're looking for kind of thing. And it's when they go to meet Babu Frick, who's that little tiny person voiced by Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter. They're in that bar area and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the camera pans over to the bartender who's just some old dude and he's got like an eye patch, I think. That bartender is John Williams and everything that's surrounding him is an individual Easter eggs to all the movies he's composed over the years since then.
So it's a good Easter egg.
Yeah, like that is just like
Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss because it's John Williams. No one's gonna know who John Williams is like by face.
Yeah,
you know his music, you know his scoring.
You know him by name, but not by face.
Exactly. So I think that for me is like Chef's kiss, one of the best Easter eggs, cameos, etc.
I don't know if it's really an Easter egg, but Avengers Assemble will always be, I think, one of the most iconic now for me.
Yeah. I think that's a moment.
It's a moment, but let's face it. At this point, like they were always hinting at it because that was the Easter egg. Because it's an iconic line, but it was never
said until
said.
the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of want to put it in D, but I'll leave it here.
Yeah. Because it's not as bad as Last Jedi. It's better than Last Jedi.
It's better than Last Jedi, but only because it's trying to fix so much of what it
Backlash
ruined.
and hiccups of, yeah.
That's the only reason it's better. Like, and that's what also makes this film bad.
Have its own hiccups, yeah.
Is that it has so many horrible like plot holes because it's trying to fix stuff from the previous film. If honestly Disney was just like, we're just axing this film doesn't exist anymore, and then they just made this 5 and allowed JJ to kind of fix the story a bit, and then did another film, that probably would have been better. But alas, they did not. And now here we are. We're gonna be hopefully the next big trilogy that they do will be either a whole brand new story we've never heard of in our entire lives, or we just dive deep into the past and do some fan favorites that they can ruin that way. I mean, do well that way.
Anyways, jump back to the tier list here quick. Worst of the worst, the D tier. You got Star Wars The Last Jedi and Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated theatrical film. C tier, we got Attack of the Clones, Solo, and Rise of Skywalker. B tier, we got Rogue One and Star Wars Force Awakens. A tier, we got New Hope, we got Empire Strike Back, and we got Star Wars Phantom Menace. And then S tier, the best of the Star Wars films, we got, obviously, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. The best of the best, our favorite, followed by Return of the Jedi.
Hey.
And as we slide back to our faces. So before we wrap up,
Matt's going to break down some of the watch orders you can.
Yeah, so
enjoy.
we got,
if you haven't already, if you're new to Star Wars, well, sorry we spoiled all that for you. If you're already seen Star Wars and you haven't tried out one of these watch orders, maybe give them a go. Go ahead, Matt.
I've also I just watch timeline order traditionally. But okay, so we got theatrical release order, obviously New Hope, Empire Strike Back, Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens, Rogue One optional, Last Jedi, Solo optional, and The Rise of Skywalker. And then we got chronological order, which is obviously the prequel trilogy, Solo, Rogue One, the original trilogy, sequel trilogy, nice and easy. And now the one that people...
The one ring to rule them all.
The one ring to rule them all. The hiccup of watching Star Wars, and it is called the Machete Order. I'm curious of your opinion. Okay, so you start off by watching New Hope.
Okay.
Then you watch Empire Strikes Back.
Sure.
Then you're going to watch Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
And Revenge of the Sith.
Sure.
Then jump back to Return of the Jedi. Then watch Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. Skipping entirely Phantom Menace.
It's rude.
People think in this Machete Order, they think Phantom Menace is completely irrelevant, completely optional.
Well, I guess I could see the argument. So they're trying to play up after 5 that, hey, let's take a look at how Anakin became the way he is.
Yeah.
And that it makes you even feel
but
that
it's only Attack of the Clones
makes you feel that impact more. But you technically don't need to know how he joined the Order. I could see, like, technically, you could just make your own. Okay, yeah, he was just a kid that they had in the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Like, it actually is, as horrible as it sounds, the only thing that isn't explained well that I think would be ruined is that why does Anakin have such an attachment to his mother?
Yeah.
That would be the big one. Because obviously he has nightmares about her, which causes him to go back, take revenge, very un-Jedi-like things, which if he was a youngling that got picked up, he wouldn't have those attachments.
Exactly.
So, episode 1 would still be important in that case. Unless you're okay with just accepting that he, for some reason, he's one person who cares about his mom that much.
Yeah.
But
in conclusion, that's our Star Wars tier list. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching if you're on YouTube or watching videos on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, absolutely.
We're there.
If you're on Apple Podcasts, be sure to drop a follow and make sure to rate and review the podcast. It helps the podcast out a lot. If you're a new subscriber here, welcome. Don't forget to join the Discord in the link tree down below. And we'll see you guys next week.
In the comments, quick. what's your least favorite Star Wars film?
Yeah,
let us know.
why we're
We
wrong.
want to know. But until then, toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast. Don't forget to join the island by dropping a follow. Thank you, and see you next week.